Hey, everybody. Hi, how are you doing? I just wanted to jump on here and I wanted to tell you something. So, the last few days, I've been doing a Facebook Live and I've been loving your comments. And thank you so much for sharing what you're thinking and how you're feeling, and that what I've been sharing has been resonating. And yesterday, I read an Instagram post from Brene Brown, and it just like just hit it on the head for me about just this work that I'm doing, and it looks like that we're all doing at the same time. So she said something about in some form like this. If we look emotion in the eye, we fear that if we look emotion in the eye, that we're going to give the emotion power and we're not going to be able to, handle it and be able to hold it and experience it. And we might feel kind of out of control. But the truth is, the reality is that if we look emotion in the eye and we name it, it gives us power. And when I read that yesterday, I was like, oh my God, that could not be more true. Just in the last few days of just sharing with you and being honest and truthful with myself and sharing my truth with you, it's been a feeling of relief. And there is a powerful kind of quality to it. And my hope is that even when you shared in your comments that you felt some of that too, that claiming of you, that there's some part of what I shared the last few days about when things get hard, maybe you quit or maybe you give up just like I do, and naming it has brought you maybe a bit more of a deeper understanding. And I just want to say, yay, us for having the courage to do that. And thank you for having the courage to write me and just share with me what's come up for you. And the other thing I want to say about that is how I have felt the last few days is that every time I've posted, I've had a little bit of a vulnerability hangover because it's just personal, right? It feels really scary to share, oh, I just do these things and I'm not where I want to be in my life and all of that stuff. It's just a bit scary. But what I know to be true outside of this experience, what I know to be true, and what I have experienced over the last few days is that I am never alone, just like you are never alone. And the more that we share and the more honest we are with each other, the more we realize we are not walking alone ever. Like we are all complex human beings. There is a lot going on for us in our lives, in our minds, in our bodies, in our hearts. And it's so important that we speak our truth out loud, and we do it for ourselves because it's empowering, and we do it for each other so that we don't feel alone. And one place that I often see this where we can really feel separate from other people is when we get asked the question, how are you? Or how are you doing? Or how are things going in your life? And our typical answer is something like, I'm fine. I'm doing great. I'm doing good. And, that's an acceptable answer, just like asking, how are you doing is an acceptable question in our culture. But the reality is that we often give an answer that is acceptable, that will make the other person comfortable, that will keep things, pretty cool and smooth, um and it's not really our truth. And I think about this a lot, that every time I get asked the question, "How are you doing?" I'm always like, there's like this little pause that I take where I'm just like, "So do I tell you how I'm really doing? Or is that what you really want to know? Or are you just asking me as part of like niceties and I'm just telling you I'm fine?" And I often just go, "Okay, I'm fine," and move on. But there is this moment of like, well, what if I told you how I'm really doing? That, I just realized that I have this fear about living my life. Like that would be such a big thing to share, right? But like, what if we just shared what was real for us in the moment? And the thing is that we don't generally do that. What we do is we share what we think is going to make the other person okay. Like we often are like, well, I'm not going to share that I'm having a hard day today. I'm not going to share that I'm feeling really sad today. I'm not going to share that I had an argument with my husband today and we're in a tense place and it's really uncomfortable. I'm not going to share all that because that's going to make this other person uncomfortable, right? And that's generally what we feel. But what happens is there's no connection that happens between the two people that's deep and sincere and authentic. It's always staying on the surface. We don't share what's real because we're worried that the other person is going to become uncomfortable with what we're sharing. And we don't share what's real because we feel like if I share this, I might be the only one that feels like this, and I'm going to kind of out myself. And we are all in this place of just sharing kind of surface stuff. And so it looks and appears like I'm the only one that's struggling because nobody else is talking about the struggle. We're all saying we're fine. We're all saying we're okay. We're all saying we're good. But the truth is, we're all struggling, but nobody's talking about it because every time you get asked how you're doing, you say, I'm fine. And what if, just like in this conversation, we were to be more truthful. And when we are more truthful, if you were to take this challenge of being truthful when somebody asks you, even just like 1% truthful when somebody asks you how you're doing, you create a dynamic in which neither one of you feels alone. And just like in this space, right? I don't feel alone anymore because you're telling me that you also have a hard time with hard things, that you also struggle with not quitting, possibly, if that's the language you would use, or giving up, or whatever it would be. You're telling me that I'm not the only one, that you too. And imagine if that was the reality we were creating when we were in the grocery store, when somebody said, how are you doing? And you said, actually, I'm really sad today, or I just gave up on something, or I'm just really struggling with my body that is aging and I just am struggling to love this body that I'm in. Like, imagine how real that would be, and how the other person, if they could be, oh my God, me too. Me too. You're not alone. You're not alone. So I say all this to be a reminder that we are all struggling in some way. We are all struggling in some way. And just like we're all struggling, we are all in some way can be a support to one another and rise with each other. But we have to know that we're not alone. We have to know that we're not doing this work alone. So know this from my heart to yours. You are not alone. And thank you for letting me know that I'm not alone. And I will see you tomorrow. Thank you so much for being here. Mwah.